As a 12th generation New Englander, I love to follow in the footsteps of my ancestors. This morning I woke at 4:30, drove to the coast, and walked around two towns of my ancestors, Salem and Marblehead, Mass. Buckle up for safety, and let's get out of this garage. There we go. All right, guys, let's head to the coast. Now, before we get there, I would love to ask those who watch this YouTube channel if you've subscribed or not yet. If you haven't, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. It will show YouTube that you like what I'm doing. If you give me a thumbs up, it will show others that you like this particular video, and YouTube will show it more. So once again, thank you for your subscription here to my YouTube channel, and I look forward to sharing more of my travels around New England, my home, my remodeling projects, crafts, inspiration, you name it. It's very rare when I visit Salem that I don't drive down Chestnut Street. I either walk or drive, and it is a beautiful area to see a lot of the federal style homes in Salem. And it also shows the wealth that was made during the old China trade by merchants. Salem was very much known for being the harbor and the port to bring in products from all over the world. I've parked my car on Derby Street, and now I am down on Derby Wharf, and the water is so smooth. The sun is just rising. There's nobody around. This is pure bliss. This is just one of 50 wharfs that used to be here in Salem's busy port. When I'm walking in these old historic towns, especially those of my ancestors, I listen. I listen carefully and let my imagination hear the echoes of a time gone by. The carriages being drawn by horses, footsteps on bricks and granite steps. I let my imagination envision that my ancestors were walking where I'm walking right now. Now I want to take you over to the House of Seven Gables. They're not open right now, but hopefully I can get you a little peek of the home and their gardens. Built in 1668 by Captain John Turner, the House of Seven Gables became popular by famous author Nathaniel Peabody, who also wrote the story Scarlet Letter. I love that I have my own copy from 1897, and my mother herself has a second edition that we found in my childhood home, tucked away in an attic trunk. It's no wonder a ship captain who was also a merchant built his home here. The water is right in view, and as I'm standing here looking at the home, I can hear the waves lapping against the land behind me. I'm also envisioning that he must have had his own wharf behind the home where he could bring his ship into port and unload his wares. We're at the home of one of my ancestors, and don't tell anybody, but I'm illegally parked right here. It says $100 fine, but I'm just going to be standing by the car, and if somebody pulls up, I will quickly move. And it doesn't help that it also says no parking in front of the gate of this home. But this home is the past property of my fourth great uncle, Joseph Story, who served on the Supreme Court from 1812 to 1845. I'm going to take a peek over the fence here. I have been caught doing this so many times. Once we get to Marblehead, I'm going to show you his father's home, the home of Elijah Story, my fifth great grandfather. Right around the corner from Joseph Story's house is the Salem Witch Museum. Now this has a little significance for me because my ninth great grandfather, William Story, from the same Story family, signed a petition to save his friend John Proctor and his wife from being hung as witches. Unfortunately, the petition did not work, but I do love knowing the fact that my great-grandfather, ninth great-grandfather, was a supporter of their friend. That says a lot because you yourself could have been hung as being a witch for protecting or speaking up for one. As we head out of Salem, I have one last witch story that I feel a little connected to. In my childhood home in Middleton, which was partially built in the late 1600s and well known more so for 1760, next door is an old graveyard, and in that graveyard, John Willard is buried. He too was hung as a Salem witch, and Middleton used to be part of Salem, if I didn't already mention that. And I always said I was going to go there on Halloween night, and I never got the nerve. I'm now taking you to Pioneer Village. Now, honestly, I have seen the sign my whole life. I've never been. It was built in 1930, and from what I understand and read, it is the oldest living museum in America. Once again, the park is not open, and fortunately, my arm is long enough to hold the camera over the fence, so you are seeing this actually before I am. Well, in a sense, now that I'm editing, I have, but the camera saw it first. But this is representing Salem in 1630. There's huts, old buildings, and there's also some wigwams. So now let's head over to Marblehead. This is one of two castles in Marblehead. This happens to be one that was built in the 1920s by a Marblehead artist, Waldo Ballard, and his wife, and they based the design off of Eric the Red's castle. Now, I can't tell you much more about Eric the Red's castle, but it is located in Greenland, and if you'd like to know more, my friend Google can help you out. If the fog was lifted at this point, you would see ahead of me a harbor full of sailboats, and also you'd see land, which is also called Marblehead Neck, where two of the yacht clubs are and a lot of beautiful homes. And as a shameless promotion, I'm going to take this opportunity to let my New England Kindred Spirits know about our New Englander bumper sticker. There's a link below. I'm now going to take you through some of the streets of Marblehead, and this is the street where my fifth great grandfather's home is on Washington Street. And I'm guessing that there was a tomato plant in this window box because there are other vegetables and herbs here, but what a cute way of letting somebody know it was not appreciated. And this is Old Town Hall, and right across the street is the home of my fifth great grandfather, Dr. Elijah Story, who was born in 1743. And as a quick reminder, he was the father of Joseph Story's home in Salem. Now, to be honest, I always wondered who I looked like in the family. I looked a little like my mother, a little like my father, but my facial features were quite different than other family members, until I found a photo or a drawing of Dr. Elijah's story. I looked at it, I finally felt I found my people. If I wasn't smiling, I think you'll agree that you can see some similarities. As a member of the Sons of Liberty, he was one of the men dressed up as an Indian, throwing tea overboard at the Boston Tea Party. When I found that out after reading history books, I thought that was very cool. I also found out that he was instrumental at the Battle of Bunker Hill, and he was a surgeon who worked alongside then General George Washington. At this time, the sun is starting to burn off the fog, and the fog is dissipating slowly. So I thought I would take a stroll, and I will show you some of the homes, the architecture, some gardens, and one of the oldest burial grounds, which you may recognize from the movie Hocus Pocus and The Good Son. You can be sure that I took note of this shell wreath, and I will be making something similar in the future. I've been told several stories of why this home is missing the corner of the building, one being that General George Washington's carriage couldn't make the corner down the street. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. And Marbleheaders show their patriotism with red, white, and blue adorning their homes. I'm certainly inspired by this. Could take a lantern, an old candle holder, and make it a plant holder. Now I'm going to take you over to Red's Pond. It was down the street from my first home, and I used to walk here with my babies in their carriage and feed the ducks. To share another witchcraft hysteria story with you, Red's Pond was named after Wilmot Red, nickname of Mammy. She was accused of witchcraft in 1692, as were some of the others I spoke of, and she was hung on Gallows Hill, which is nearby. Red's Pond was named after her because she was the only citizen of Marblehead executed for witchcraft. Her small house was next to Old Burial Hill in the south corner of the pond that now bears her name. During my time living in Marblehead, I had no idea that some of my ancestors from so far back lived here. I knew some other ancestors lived here, but those were closer in time. But right now I'm going to take you up to Old Burial Hill, which was established in 1638. And once again, you might recognize the gazebo and some of the scenes here from Hocus Pocus and The Good Son. I guess in reality that my ancestors and everybody else's ancestors here in this graveyard are somewhat movie stand-ins or movie stars. I used to read this stone a lot and not realizing that this was a relative, and this is actually my 5th great-grandfather's half-brother William. I hope you enjoyed that tour of the 2 towns that I absolutely adore. They're very much tourist places if you're looking for things to do in Massachusetts, right on the water, and it's quite open and active right now. You know, knock on wood, so